Life can change in an instant. For many wheelchair users, the struggle to push forward is a daily challenge.
After years of development and countless prototypes, we created Rib Grips, the revolutionary wheelchair hand rim covers with built-in ribs for ultimate grip and comfort.
No more slick surfaces, no more heat burns, just pure, reliable grip. Rib Grips, empowering you to push forward with ease. Rib Grips, get a grip on your freedom. Discover the difference. Visit ribgrips.com and use promo code GRIP today. You just found the perfect product that helps with staying cool during hot summer runs. No more gross warm water. Stay cool with this product from Gear Handle. This hydration tube cover helps keep your water cool and easily accessible. Stay hydrated during those long summer runs or even delay from freezing in the winter. Plus, they're compatible with various brands of water bladders and come in various colors. Visit gearhandle.com and use promo code H2O today.
This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Silent Witness, the cold case true crime pod that tries to get to the heart of justice for families and victims. Hosted by Christina.
Hello, hello.
And Erica. Hello. All right, what you got, lady?
Okay, so we're going to go back in time. We're going to go back to 1979.
Okay.
So let me tell you about this time period because I know we're going to get a lot of kickback. So.
What? Why?
Because people left their doors unlocked.
Oh, sure.
Their windows were open.
Oh, sure.
We had no cell phones. We had no streaming TV. We had no cable. We had 3 channels or 2 in 79, I think. Because I don't think Fox was a thing until the 80s.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah. So, we didn't have internet. We didn't have computers.
No.
You didn't download music.
No.
You listened to
vinyl.
Vinyl and 8-track.
Yeah.
I don't even think they had cassettes. They may have. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But so let's look at the music in 1979. You had Bee Gees were at the top of the charts. Rod Stewart and Donna Summer. We're also in the top 10.
We have people listening right now and they're like, what?
Well, everybody knows Bee Gees. Come on.
I don't know, man. I'll test my children later. No, I bet you $20 they'll be like, who?
Some of my students did know Bee Gees and did know Queen, so Queen was also popular. At the movies, Rocky 2 was
in the theaters.
Was in the theaters, and then Kramer versus Kramer.
Oh,
that was a divorce movie. Yeah,
movie. Okay.
On TV, we had Three's Company, and then my favorite reruns, of course. I didn't watch was Dallas. Was on TV.
Oh, gosh.
J.R. Ewing. Yes.
Wow.
We had payphones on every corner. Kids rode bikes, played in the street until the lights came up.
Drank from the water hose.
Yeah.
Parents had to be reminded where your kids.
Mom yelled at you, come home. Eventually, my mom never did. She's like, go. But Dallas in 1979, was not as big as it is now.
Okay, so not the TV show. We're talking about the city.
The city, Dallas. Okay. Not the TV show.
Switch gears. Okay.
No, I could go all day talking about J.R. Ewing.
Did you have a crush on J.R.?
I love bad guys, so.
Gosh.
J.R. Anyway.
Okay, sorry.
So we did have a solar eclipse in 1979.
Neato.
Didn't we just have one here?
We did. It was cool.
Anyway, so you got to look at Dallas, the city of Dallas.
Okay.
Here in Texas, it was about half the size as it is today. Kids played in the street, hung out with their friends, went to the store, rode
buy
their bikes.
Mom a pack of cigarettes?
Well, they probably could back then.
Yeah, nobody cared.
This was a safe time in our community, that we thought, at least people thought it was.
Right. Ooh.
Okay. So, let's talk about a little girl named Elizabeth Barclay.
Why does she have to be a little girl?
Well,
I don't wanna.
But she was born December 21st, 1971 in Dallas. Her parents...
She was 8.
She was 7. Yeah.
What? When was she born?
71.
Okay. Go ahead.
And it was 79? Wouldn't she be 7 or 8? Maybe she did. Well, her birthday was December, but I don't think she had turned 8 yet. Well, that date's December 21st was an important date.
December 21st isn't 12/21. That's easy to remember.
Okay.
Okay.
So her parents, David and Linda Barclay. Elizabeth was independent, tenacious, very likable. She had a little brother, Scotty, who was born in 75. She loved being a big sister and was very protective over Scotty.
Cute. Did she go by Elizabeth? They didn't call her like Lizzie or Liz or anything?
I don't.
Okay, my bad.
All my research, it was Elizabeth, so I'll refer her as Elizabeth.
Yes.
I mean, they may have, but I don't know.
No, you're fine.
I didn't talk to anybody for this case.
Okay. Well, yeah.
So,
this is an old one.
Yeah. And with a lot of times parents divorce. And David and Linda divorced.
Oh, see, now that's a big deal back then.
It was.
That was not, you know.
But it was hard on the kids.
Yeah.
But they're, kids are resilient. So Linda continued to live in Dallas, and David, her dad, moved to San Francisco.
Ooh, dang. That's a big.
For a job, yeah.
Okay.
Linda lived at an apartment complex called Westlake Terrace, which was on Starlight Road, which is in northwest Dallas.
Okay.
She lived there with Elizabeth and Scotty.
Okay.
Scotty was 3. So let's move to October 23rd, which was a Tuesday. It was around 7 p.m. It was still light outside. Daylight savings time hadn't kicked in yet.
Right.
So it was still pretty light outside. It was getting,
like starting to change.
Yeah, I think sunset would have officially been around the 8 o'clock hour.
Oh, okay.
But Scotty begged his mom to let his sister, and a little 5-year-old neighbor, J.R. Potter, go walk to a nearby convenience store and get some ice cream.
Okay.
So Linda told him, hurry up. We got some things to do for Halloween. So scat and hurry up. Come back.
Go get your ice cream. Come right home.
Yeah. And again, it was still pretty light outside. It wasn't dark.
Sure.
The kids left the apartment. They went over to JR's apartment. And his father gave the kids some money for ice cream and asked if they were going to go alone or if mom, Linda, was going to go. And they said, no, we're going alone. Dad thought it was okay. There's 3 kids. They're just walking up the street.
Getting ice
It'll
cream.
be okay.
Coming
It's a
back.
short walk.
No biggie.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is why I went into the background of that time period, because
this wouldn't happen today.
It wouldn't happen today. And people, I wouldn't let my kids. Well, back then you would let your kids.
Back then you wouldn't give it a second thought.
Yeah. We rode bikes. I remember going to the store all the time when I was young and getting cookie dough so I can watch Rick Springfield on General Hospital. So
that is very specific.
It is.
Okay.
But anyway, so dad thought it'd be okay. There's 3 kids. There's numbers. It's not like nobody's going alone.
Just down the street, getting ice cream, coming back. Yeah, you're right. Time period matters.
Yeah. And a few minutes after the kids left, Linda was going to get on the phone, and she heard her son, Scotty, running frantically back to the door and crying and making noise. And Linda went to her son and, opened it. What's up?
Yeah.
She could see Scotty was panicked and scared. And he yelled, a man took Elizabeth. Linda ran outside, and JR's father, hearing the commotion, hearing it, came out too. And they both, and JR was also in a panic. Sure. So, dad came out, and Linda and JR's father took the path the kids would have taken, like trying to find Elizabeth.
Sure.
They searched the store, the apartment complex. They couldn't find her.
Oh, no.
They finally got the boys calmed down and to explain exactly what happened. Then after they explained it, Linda called the police. So a few short minutes later, police were everywhere in that apartment complex. They came a running.
Okay, good.
Officers questioned the boys and listened to the story. So the 3 were walking down a side street, and it separated the apartment complex from a business.
Okay.
And this again was near Northwest Highway. And today, Northwest Highway is a big road, one of the main roads into the Dallas area.
Mm-hmm.
But they headed to the store and a dark colored car pulled up in the back parking lot of the apartment complex. So they were walking through and got to the back part.
Mm-hmm.
And a man opened the door and exposed himself to the trio.
Oh, come on.
Like creepy, peeper, disgusting. We don't want to see what little you're working with. Put it up.
Put it away.
Okay. But he exposed himself to these young children.
That does not make sense to me, but okay.
Well, he then exited the vehicle, chased Elizabeth a short distance and caught her, drug her into the car.
Gosh.
Drug her into the back of his car, threatened to drown her if she didn't come. And I think one of the lakes, I've got it written down, wasn't that far away. But Elizabeth was now in the car. He drug her into the car. The boys saw the man hitting something in the back seat.
No.
Full fists. It is believed he began hitting her because she was fighting.
Good for you, Elizabeth. I hope you bit him.
The car sped off. And there was a witness who watched from his apartment window and saw the same hitting. Appeared that the man was hitting something in the back seat.
Oh, God.
But this whole incident happened in just seconds. It was not something that, took probably not even a minute. It was just.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm just.
It happened so fast that witnesses didn't even have time to react.
Sure. And what are two little boys going to do?
Well, I'm talking about.
I mean, I know like other people.
Yeah.
If even it was fast enough that I'm surprised anybody else saw it. Really, that's a busy time of night. That's dinner time and baths and getting ready. That's a busy time of night.
Mm-hmm. Police began searching along. They also had helicopters. There was an APB, all points bulletin
Look
released.
At this. Cops doing their job. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Elizabeth's description and details of the vehicle were taken. Elizabeth was about 40 pounds, blonde hair, wearing white shorts and a red, white, and blue top, little halter top. The sedan was described as a dark color, black or a dark gray, 1974, around that time period, Buick sedan.
Okay.
The trunk had some damage, so it didn't shut all the way.
Okay.
And the man that took Elizabeth was described as a black male, about 5'10". He was stocky with long sideburns.
Oh, well, that would make sense for
that time period. He was around 30 to 35 years old.
Okay.
Other witnesses also spoke to the police. Of course, the man that I talked about that saw it from his window, a woman heard screams, and another man claimed to have seen everything that had happened.
Oh, really? Okay. I wondered how they got such detail about the car. Because the boys wouldn't know the age of, you know what I mean?
Right. But police continued to search the area. They searched Bachman Lake was the lake that was nearby. It was less than a mile away from where they lived. The Trinity River runs through Dallas, so they're searching. They're dragging the rivers. They combed trash bins, dumpsters, fields, everywhere.
They were doing everything they could
in the Dallas area. Police used vehicles, helicopters, foot. They also looked up known sex offenders, and I don't believe we had a registry then. So, they would just look up.
Oh, you mean like Megan's Law registry?
Yeah. So sex offenders are required to, and they're on the internet, DPS.
Yeah, I know.
And none matched that description of, in that area of Dallas, in the north part of Dallas.
Okay.
Linda didn't have any enemies. And it was unlikely Elizabeth knew her kidnapper. And, even today, stranger kidnappings are very rare. And they were then.
Right. Yeah, it's typically
somebody
right. Somebody's been grooming. Okay.
There were not any domestic problems. Of course, Elizabeth's father was in California, and he was ruled out quickly. The father did come to Dallas and help with the search for his daughter, along with other family. Volunteers searched along with police in the following days. They were hanging posters. It was, you also got to understand there was no Amber Alert back then.
Right.
Amber Hagerman her crime didn't happen until the 90s. So, or was it the late 80s? I think it was, anyway.
Well, same with Megan's Law. That didn't come about till the 90s.
Yeah. but there was no Amber Alert. But there,
Mhm.
you know, it was on the TV stations, you know,
Which back then was a
newspapers.
big deal because it wasn't as diluted,
Right.
right? Like you mentioned, there were just a couple stations to choose from. Everybody watched it.
Everybody watched it.
Everybody watched it.
And they read newspapers back
Right.
then. So
Mhm.
it was in the newspaper. And tips did come into the police.
Okay.
So let's talk about some of those. Craziness, you know, you're always going to have the
that sounds
crazies.
hard.
The crazies are coming
Well,
out.
yeah. Oh, good.
The psychics called offering help, of course. You know, they had
Okay.
their visions. Crazies.
Hey, now there have been some that have led to
Crazies.
No,
They're
man.
crazies.
Come on now, some have helped.
None have helped.
That's not true. I'll okay. I'll
That's your
find
job.
one. That's my job. I'll find a case where a psychic
I'm sure
helped.
that has, but I think it
No,
was
I know, but
coincidence. But other leads came in.
okay.
One person said there was a body in a dumpster, and this proved false.
Mhm.
One man called the police stating another man gave him a note and $50 to give to the police, give the note to the police,
Okay.
and that he would release the girl. The note said he would release the girl unharmed for $10,000. The money should be delivered to a house on Pennsylvania Avenue in the Dallas area.
Mhm.
Of course, police did arrange to meet the man that had the note and said, you know, we want to look at the note.
Sure.
The man was afraid, so another man was waiting there, but that man left. So the man with the note was eventually arrested. And, you know, because they searched the area and searched the house and
Sure.
nothing was found. So it was just an extortion.
Yeah, he was just trying to get money.
Yeah.
Gross, buddy.
Another psychic called stating that her vision was that Elizabeth was molested but was alive. But again, false.
I know. But still.
And
I
they-
mean, that's probably the direction it went.
yeah, and again, it's amazing that the crazies and the scammers come out. And that's probably why
Right?
we have
That's
trouble
disgusting.
with the research, is because they think we're scammers, you know?
Yeah,
Which we're
yeah.
not.
They'll learn. They'll learn. It's okay. I know that bothers you.
But you know, but the police did follow up on every tip.
Nice. Okay.
And of course, during this time, Linda, they gave a press conference. Linda and her ex gave a press conference begging for information. And, you know, again, police investigated each tip. A reward was offered for $5,000 and it grew to $10,000. And for back then,
that's a lot of money. Yeah.
especially for back then.
Mm-hmm.
As, you know, tips began to dry up as days turned into months. But Linda kept hope. Another thing that should be noted, we didn't have cell phones. Telephones were hardwired in a home. Everybody had one.
Right.
And you could get anybody's phone number.
Yeah.
back then. You could look in the white pages, or you could call 411 and
Yeah.
get a phone number.
Yeah.
And so, with that being said, calls were even going to Linda stating that they had Elizabeth.
Oh,
She
my
was alive. There
gosh.
was other prank calls. It was just torment.
That's disgusting.
It's torment.
Shame on all of you.
Crazies were out, and they had nothing better to do than torment this poor family.
Wow.
So now we're in looking at December.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So for reference, Dallas, you take I-20 and you'll go about 45 minutes or so, about 60 miles east on I-20,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll hit Van Zandt County.
Okay.
That's where I have family that live.
Aw.
So yeah, so that's where Canton is
Mhm.
this county seat. It has First Monday Trade Days.
Yeah, that thing's awesome.
It's huge, yeah.
I
But
know, you could spend days there.
so the Wills Point area is where you hit Van Zandt County. It's a
Okay.
bigger town, not as big as Canton, but you know, Wills Point.
Okay.
And on December 21st,
Oh, her birthday.
on her birthday, Elizabeth's 8th birthday, skeletal remains were found in a ditch along Harem Road by farm workers. Dental records confirmed that this was Elizabeth.
Ugh.
Cause of death was a gunshot
Well.
to the chest. Also, the medical examiner discovered that a knife wound in the skull.
Oh my gosh.
It was also determined that she died about October 24th, so the day after she was abducted.
Thank God. Okay. I mean, not thank God, but
No.
as a mom, okay, but as a mom, I'd rather know it happened quickly
Yeah.
than she was held captive for months and God knows what happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
But damn.
It's still devastating.
Yes.
Their family was devastated. The funeral was held on December 30th. One thing to note that was interesting that I read is that Scotty sat with his father at the funeral and saw a picture of Elizabeth with framed with flowers and smiled.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, he lived.
And he was 3 at the time. So the family, stated that Elizabeth touched so many lives, and the outpouring of cards and everything was, helpful.
That's right. The crazies come out, but so do the good hearts.
Yeah. So of course now Dallas police, the crime happened in Dallas, so Dallas took over with the help of Van Zandt County, I'm sure, but they think that it, the body was just dumped there. But so police began to see if there was any relation to any other cases.
Okay.
So the same day that Elizabeth was abducted, there was another abduction. It's the same day as Elizabeth.
Wow. Okay.
Off Abrams Road, which if you go on I-30 up toward North Dallas, you'll see Abrams and Forest Lane and so forth.
I was like, why is that familiar?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's right by next exit's Forest.
Okay.
There was a body found the next day of a child abduction. But there has not been any connection.
Oh, really?
That they can tell. But parents began to get scared, even though they didn't connect the two. I think.
Did they think it was more like just coincidence that it happened the same day?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
Police also began investigating a kidnapping in the Oak Lawn area, and Oak Lawn is near downtown, and it is now a very upscale.
Ritzy.
Beautiful.
Hoity.
But there was a kidnapping in that area of Dallas. A man held a knife to an 18-year-old lady named Lisa and forced her into the vehicle and began driving I-20 toward Marshall, which is past Van Zandt County. It would be going toward Tyler and going straight.
But she was older. You said she was 18.
Yeah. Lisa began fighting and then
Good job, Lisa.
Jumped out of the car, and a trucker stopped and helped her. So,
oh, yay.
But they arrested the man, and then he was not connected with Elizabeth's murder. It was just, kind of weird that he was headed the same way.
Right. Well, but I mean, 20. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
But also I think it's worth noting that back then, and even today, there's not like a great database, but back then, like police, they didn't have computers, so they didn't have a way of sharing this information, and there wasn't just one large national database of crime. You know what I mean?
Like the Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
Yeah.
I mean, there was APBs.
None of that existed.
Yeah. There was APBs out, and then, of course, it's just old-fashioned detective work, because we didn't have DNA. We didn't have...
Right. But there was no way to connect, like to see. That's why serial killers got
away
much.
with it.
Yeah. Because nobody knew.
Yeah. But, so there were some other... cases that were investigated by Dallas police of child murders.
Okay.
Ladina McCoy was 7 in 1977. She left her home to go to school and never made it. Several months later, her body was discovered in a creek in South Dallas. Her murder has been solved.
Oh, okay.
So, and they didn't connect it with Elizabeth's. And then Susie Maggs was 12 and went to a laundromat with her mom in Denton, which is north of Dallas. Her mother left her to go interview somebody at a restaurant they owned, and then, was gone for about 30 minutes. Susie was seen, her mom saw Susie, and the witnesses saw Susie next door at the Burger King while the clothes were, the family's, washing machine had broke, so they had to go to a laundromat.
Okay.
And so she went to Burger King next door, waited in line. She was speaking with a white male in his 20s.
Okay.
Apparently, Susie was pretty shy, but she felt comfortable speaking to this man, according to witnesses. But her mom returned about 30 minutes later, and her daughter was gone.
Okay, but that doesn't really match either.
Right.
Right? Like, so sadly.
Yeah. And
lots, but none of them connect.
Yeah. And again, and this was 2 years earlier, but an intense search again. Several months later, her body was discovered in South Oak Cliff. Now, for those that don't know the Dallas-Fort Worth area, South Oak Cliff is the very, very bad part of Dallas.
Oh, okay.
This is the hood.
I didn't know.
Now it is. I don't know what it was like in the 70s. I don't know. I'm just saying for today's
now, you
reference.
don't want to go hang out there.
You don't want to drive through at night.
Oh, okay.
Her case was never solved, although she seemed comfortable speaking to that man, the white male at Burger King. He is not known, and nobody saw. Like
There's
in
no
Elizabeth's,
reason
well, in Elizabeth's case, there were witnesses seeing her being abducted, but nobody saw anything. So there are some similarities to each of the cases, but it's not known, especially in Susie's case, if it's related.
Okay.
Even though the man description, different races and so forth.
But there must have been somebody else because, well, hold on. In Elizabeth's case, was he like holding the steering wheel and punching in the back, or he jumped in the back with her and there was a driver?
He came out of the passenger side.
So there were two people.
Exposing himself, yes.
Right, okay.
So there's somebody else that's involved, and that may be where this white male, you don't know. They don't know who the driver would have been.
Okay.
But somebody else was driving, it appears. Again, who knows if they're related?
Right.
It's not been solved. That particular case has not been solved.
Ugh.
Additionally, we don't know if there's any DNA in Elizabeth's case. I did try to research that and hunt that down if she was raped and if there's any DNA. And of course, at that time, her body was decomposed. It was months later. And there was no DNA testing at that time, but there would be today. They would have preserved it. And, so that may be something the police are keeping under wraps. Yeah.
Sure.
But it's not been solved 45 years later.
God.
It's been 45 years. And the suspect would be about 75 today if they got the age right.
Okay.
So, there's still time for justice.
Yeah. What is her mom and dad still alive?
Elizabeth's mother, Linda, died of cancer in 2005. Yeah. The whereabouts of her father and Scotty are unknown. Really? Yeah. Okay. But Elizabeth does deserve justice.
Well, absolutely. I just wondered if the family was behind it,
Yeah.
Like pushing the case forward at all.
I'm not sure. But yeah. And again, it's been 45 years. Elizabeth would have been in her 50s. Had she lived, and it's time for justice. Again, somebody knows something, I think, and this guy probably has gotten drunk and told somebody at a bar. It's typically what happens. He's done it to somebody else. So, if anybody knows anything, the Texas Rangers phone number is 800-346-3243, or their Crime Stoppers line, which you can remain anonymous. Let's get a tip in. Come on, let's get this solved.
I mean, my God.
There's been cases recently solved from the 70s. So
that's great.
Let's get this solved. But 800-252-TIPS. You can remain anonymous. That's 800-252-TIPS. Or you can call Dallas Police at 214-670-8345.
Is she on the Rangers Cold Case site?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. She is one of the ones that the Rangers are, reopened.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a sad case, and
those are the worst. And those are the things that they started happening and people did start talking about them. And then the awareness was, oh gosh.
Yeah, it's a thing. I mean, it started changing, and then, because people back then didn't talk about, kidnappings didn't happen as much unless they were parental. Again, it was safe, but, you have a string of child murders, and the community gets affected, and you don't let your kids walk. But, I know that I see on a lot of posts about this case and other cases that people give a lot of crap. I'd never let my kids. Well, yeah, you would have back then.
Back then, yeah. Back then, you wouldn't have given a second thought.
Yeah, because it was safer,
Well, and even now there's so much information. And I tell this to our kids, like, take a look at your community and like the things that are happening in your community, not every single story from around the world. Because if you do that, you're overwhelmed. And of course it feels like it happens all day, every day.
Yeah.
But if you narrow it down specifically your community, it's,
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
too much.
Yeah. And
one is too much.
Yeah. And again, I don't know if there's DNA in this case.
Okay.
I would assume that.
I just don't even know. Would they even have had the protocol to swab?
I think,
you know what I mean?
because they have solved cases from the 70s using DNA, now 30, 40 years later.
I don't know. Maybe I'm dumb. Did they have rape kits back then? That would.
I think they did. Yeah. Because they had sexual assaults and stuff. I don't know if it was as technical as it is today, but they would have kept the DNA, and they would have, I mean, they scrape under the fingernails and, that's
so, like,
still,
skin
but
hairs.
Who knows if there was DNA, if it was still viable because she was decomposed and they had to identify her via dental records.
Okay. Yeah.
But, yeah, listen, we need some tips. Call Dallas Police 214-670-8345. We got to get a killer off the streets because the next victim could be somebody you love.
Sorry, the kid ones, I can't. You got to give me like a warning on the kid ones, man. This is
I'll
really
do that
hard.
next time.
Yeah, or just don't do it. But they also deserve justice.
Yeah, I mean,
they're hard. They're hard. All like little kid ones, but also the boys we've talked about. And
eventually
they're going to graduate. I mean, just
And eventually we'll do Amber Hagerman, I think, because that's not been solved.
No. Okay. You're going to have to give me a heads up on that one.
I will.
I got to get my heart ready. But yes, I always will have this in the show notes.
Yes.
Texas Rangers Cold Case site is easily accessible.
Yeah, just Google it.
You can, Crime Stoppers is anonymous. Any tip is helpful. Unless you're crazy. If you're crazy, just put your phone down. But if you actually have
No, if you're crazy, go ahead and call because
why?
Because they won't know.
But the last time we talked about crazies, they were giving
I know, but I'm
bad
trying to,
tips.
I know, but I'm trying at least something to give the police to look.
Okay.
No, yeah, you're right. The crazies as far as like the psychics, don't call.
No, I wasn't talking about psychics. You are anti-psychic. I was talking about, literally if you're pulling it out of your booty.
Yeah, if you're just trying to get money or trying to scam, don't do it.
Yeah, scammers, you know what? Go to hell. Christina,
I agree.
Yep. We don't need that. We're looking for true, actionable tips. Let's go.
Let's get this solved. Come on, 45 years.
Forget this guy. Ugh. And who knows how many other people he did it to. Get him.
Right.
Call in a tip. Let's go.
And his DNA may be in the system. And, but, and if there's no DNA with this particular case, there's some old fashioned detective work, but they're willing, especially the Rangers. They're willing to work it.
I would love to find out who he is and find out that he's been locked up for like 30 years for another crime. It wouldn't be exact justice, but at least he isn't out there living his best life.
Yeah, and that makes me sick.
Ugh, me too.
Especially a little girl like you. And then you expose your... Oh, stop. I can't.
And then full fist on a 7-year-old? Come on.
Oh, yeah. Multiple.
Yeah.
Multiple hits.
Nope.
Yeah.
We need to do... Yeah. Yeah, come at me about chemical castration now. Totally okay. Totally acceptable, y'all. All right.
He needs the death penalty.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for listening. Please call in any tip. God, if you want to send it our way, I don't care. Silent Witness TX on Instagram and Facebook. We are all about it.
And if you want us to feature your case, please reach out on our social media. Or my email is silentwitnesswaco@gmail.com. I will talk to you and feature any case. Let's get some and spread the word. I'm not a scam when I reach out to you.
She's starting to take it personally, you guys. All right, everybody. That has been Silent Witness. Thank you so much for listening.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production. Are you a podcaster? Let's talk podcast hosting. Are you tired of your current podcast host? Need real support in a community that gets it? At Rogue Media Network, we offer top-tier podcast hosting services to help you thrive. From hosting and distribution to dedicated support, we've got you covered. Starting as low as $25 a month. Join our community of passionate podcasters today. Contact us at hello@roguemedianetwork.com.